Well, I have Dr. Berchtold on a consult tomorrow with me, but I also had a consult with Dr. Karami, and both of them have similar questions or inquiries of me. They kind of want to know how the heck we're doing million plus in a town of 850. And I've had other doctors that have called me that aren't even part of our group. And so
How are they
I
hearing
say
about
it's
you?
all doc. I
You
always
are
just say it's
literally,
all Dr. Vince, but
please do.
but but I was thinking maybe of putting together some type of a separate recording for that. Is there any value in that?
Here's what I think we should do is a case study. And a case study. And by the way, I want to do this with Dr. Jim too, because rarely does someone go from 45,000 a month to $93,000 a month in 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's literally on my radar. Like, my planner that,
Mhm.
and there's that little radar section. Case study with Dr. Jim has been on there for about 3 months now. But here's what's important. That's what I love about the planner is like, I will do it someday. It's just, there's, you have higher priority stuff that you have to get to. I think a case study would be great. So a case study is essentially in kind of an interview, right? Where you just present, hey, these are the results. And then you just ask, 5 to 7 questions about how you did it, and it's just, you know, we're trying to elicit the model, right? What steps did you take? What did you do differently, if at all? Um, you know, what were some of the bottlenecks you experienced in that growth? What big changes did you make? One thing for you was the big expansion. I mean, was that at the beginning of 2023 that it was done, or is it 22?
Well, it was finished in the last quarter or so of 2022, but 2023 was the first full year
Yeah,
in it.
and then
And
you
that
had a
was
hundred, and then you had 100K in March.
correct.
So that was a big part of it, was just space. Like it sat from, you know, obviously these conversations were a couple of years ago. But if I recall, you were it was just a space issue in terms of accommodating more volume.
Oh, that was a big part of it. The demand was there. We just couldn't process
Yeah.
demand and we needed more space.
And then the question is, oh, well, how did we get the demand? You know?
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we should do a case study, but I think the biggest thing was, for you getting the demand, right? So number one, it was clinical, right? Clinical and systems, being able to handle the volume and give the great results. And then the marketing, right? Radio, newspaper, Facebook, Instagram. Then we added, Google. So it's just really having a real comprehensive um, marketing funnel.
No, there's no doubt the marketing was the game changer. I mean, I can't argue with that at all. I mean, we saw a substantial uptick in new patients with the marketing, and the more consistent we've been with, I mean, we've been consistent with it, and it's just like a machine. And actually, I was going to comment on that because, yeah, I didn't do 10 new patients in a day like Dr. Vink. Uh, but last month we had 39, and this month we're going to be close to 50 new patients. I mean, so it's been, 10 a week, pretty steady here lately. And and a lot of them are coming in as a direct result of the marketing. Some's word of mouth, but it's not any one source though. It's a couple from the radio, a couple from the
Yeah.
newspaper, a couple from Facebook every week, and then some word of mouth. And so it's uh it's just a testament to the fact that you got to have diversity in the marketing, and you got to stay at it consistently.
Yeah, I think that's the consistency is the big one. A lot of doctors will jump in and out from Facebook agencies or, unfortunately, most of them only offer Facebook and, and Instagram. It's nice to be able to help with the other platforms as well. But what what you have benefited from that I have, seen in the metrics is the consistency. because the algorithm learns, right? The algorithm continues to learn over time. Hey, who should I, who's the best person to show this to? Because we keep feeding it the information from the people that, have shown up. So what it's like, it's like seasoning a steak. The longer you can season it, the better it gets. So the same thing with the pixel for Facebook and the algorithm is like the longer it learns. So algorithms are essentially large data learning models, right? And so the more data it gets, the better it gets. So the longer you're marketing and using the services, the better it gets. It just is what it is.
Yeah, you're the master at it. There's no argument. It's phenomenal. I never dreamed how many people would come from an hour away in all directions, and it it's just phenomenal to see it. By the way, Docs, that planner that he talked about, the radar thing, I have, I'm gonna grab it right here. Planner is just, it looks blank like this. My writing is awful, but you just put these different categories on there. And that radar thing, number one on my radar is decompression presentation. So I'm going to start getting my presentation ready for September in the next, hopefully, few weeks here coming up.
Yeah, we just had a our first decompression summit certification pre-planning meeting yesterday. So that was good.
It was good. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better.
I want to hit 200. I want to hit 200 attendees. I think that's my internal goal. I don't see why we can't do it. We did 100 last year, so we should, really, we did 100 with no paid marketing.
Yeah.
So I think if we, do the same thing we did last time is, us and everyone else, email their lists and let them know about it first. And then second is, running paid ads. And I think we can 100% hit 200 attendees. And for everyone listening, it is going to be bigger, better, and different. So if you went last year, this is not going to be a rehash, right? Which is unfortunately what most summits, events do. They just kind of teach this, this is the same stuff every time because that's what's easy, right? But we're not going to do what's easy. We're going to do what's different and better. So we will have, and we've talked about this, right? Well, one of the key things, advanced training on reported findings. And I think that's going to be super powerful for people.
Oh yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, you can get the patients in the door, but you got to be able to work them up correct and then finish the deal in a sense. And that's where the reported findings is key. I mean, you got to at least be hitting 50% or higher. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting your marketing dollars.
100%.
And
100%.
along that lines, I was going to say the group, I mean, it's not only going to be new material, it's going to be, that's why I want to emphasize, I'm putting together a brand new presentation that I didn't do last year. And Dr. Burkhart's going to be doing new material, Dr. Vince, and we maybe will have a surprise speaker as well. Plus, there's going to be a lot more for the CAs at this seminar as well, with breakout sessions and training in areas of decompression, but also laser, shockwave, and other things as well. So it'll be a full meal deal.
At one point, or maybe in a subsequent, I don't know if it makes sense to do it at this one, but almost have a training specifically for the financial portion, because then sometimes it's a doctor, but sometimes it's the staff member, right? So I think we'll be going through, obviously be covering, how to talk finances with patients in this year's summit. So I think what we want to make sure to do is not have maybe a big CA thing during that, because the CAs a lot of times are doing the finances, and so we want to make sure that they get that information downloaded and dialed in as well.
Agree. I think a lot of doctors, I mean, I'll be honest, my CAs do the financial stuff. And if they're confident and well-trained, and you've worked them up good clinically, answered their major questions. What's wrong? Can we help? How long? All those things, and address a few of the four horsemen and so forth. And the finances, that's just the final step, and that can be handed off in some instances if you have somebody that's well trained to do it.
I think in a perfect world, it is handed off. I kind of like the idea of separating the finances from the doctor. I didn't, and that's why I put the training in there, so that, because some doctors, there's, I personally did not like handing over my, kind of quote unquote financial destiny to someone that made $20 an hour. Um, but because sometimes it's tough to ask for 5K or whatever the number is if you can't afford it yourself. That's when I think it's better for the doctor, but to do it. But if you have someone that's trained, right, and they don't have some people, regardless of what they make, they don't have a problem asking for money, and so that's who you want, as in terms of your, you know, whatever office manager, patient success manager, whatever you want to call them, someone that's talking finances with patients, call them a financial manager. I don't care. Point being is, that person should be unafraid to discuss finances. And it should not seem like a big deal. That's really the, I think ideally, it's nice to be able, the doctor brings them up, front half, four horsemen, trial, and then handoff.
Yeah, I agree. And under ideal circumstances, that's good if you got that person, and
Because
it
that
can work.
that can be very time consuming too, right? Because you're going through each option. Not always, but sometimes they just pay up front and it's done. But sometimes you need to go through each option and talk with them about it, right? And figure out how are they going to be able to pay for it. Then maybe they need to do financing. Then they have to fill out the form. Well, all this stuff is time that the doctor could be treating patients or doing another consultation, or working on his goals, or taking notes in his book about how that report went, et cetera. Um, Anyways, the time consuming aspect, is almost reason enough to pull the doctor out of that aspect of the ROF.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's I think one of the biggest keys to growth in any office is it's, I mean, it's no brainer to say it, but it's the staff. You gotta have a couple of rock stars around you, or at least close to that are you know high end A players, or at least high Bs, and and then you can hand off so many things, so you as the doc can just focus on. I mean, truthfully, my day is I examine, adjust, and then and do some documentation, but my staff's helped me with that, but my staff does almost everything else for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's one of your big differentiating factors is the quality of your team.
well,
Because we can talk
yeah,
about the marketing, we can talk about, the clinical, but man, if you didn't have that support team, there's no way you would hit 100 grand a month. So we should make a mental note about talking about team, hiring, managing, encouraging, supporting. Um, it's just massive.
yeah, and the more responsibility you give them, and make them feel as a valuable part of the team, the more, and that they more they just embrace their roles and see. And well, the other day I went back to the back of the clinic where we have all of our therapies and so forth, and because I just finished stats for 2023 on all of our niches, and I just went back and told those gals what a great job you're doing, and how many people's lives that you are positively impacting with these high-end therapies they're doing. They just light up and they just glow because they feel like they're making a difference in this world, and that they're part of something bigger than just collecting a paycheck. And
So
it
amazing.
so it it's but without those staff back there doing that, half of my practice last year was the stuff we're doing with niches and laser and neuropathy and decompression and shockwave and all that stuff. So it, and they just, I got two staff, that's all they do all day long. And, it's so valuable.
And I think, I'm sure we've all heard about the love languages, right? Um, Team members have quote unquote love languages as well, right? Not all of them are motivated by money. And in fact, if they are motivated by money, it's probably not the best thing, right? I mean, you can certainly, support them in that manner, like with bonuses, like they should be performance bonused based on their role, right? So not like bonus if I don't like the rising tide lifts all ships bonuses. Like in other words, like okay, the practice is 100 grand, everyone gets a piece. I like when team members are bonused based on their performance. In other words, front desk is bonus based on number of consults that are scheduled and show. Techs are bonus based on testimonials and referrals and reviews. Your financial person is bonus based on closes. But none of them are making $1 million a year. We're the one that's making all the money, to be totally frank. But what Kyle was just saying is like, hey, the recognition, and the involvement in a bigger mission and purpose and changing of the lives of the people in the community, those are the things, right, that you can really help support your team and build their buy-in with the company, with the practice. That's where you get long-term, team members, is when they buy into the mission, they feel supported, they feel praised. Sometimes just giving them a different title, like maybe someone's been with you for a long time, maybe they elevate to the office manager position, so they get a new title and maybe a little bit of a bump in pay, whatever it may be. But you need to figure it out. You need to figure out what, with each individual person, what motivates them outside of money, and remember that, and then incorporate that into how you manage them and support them.
Absolutely. Praise goes a long ways. Telling them thank you frequently goes a long way. Bonuses goes a little ways. Money goes a little ways. But some of those other intangibles, that's what, and then if they start to view it not as this is not my job, this is my career.
Yeah.
That's
What a great observation.
that's huge. When they transition to that, then you got a high-end staff member.
Yeah, that is a really, really great observation. Yeah, job versus career, because then they're in it for the long haul, and that's what you want, obviously.
Yeah, and we've been able to have that now with several of our staff members that have been with us for 10 years or more. There's 3 or 4 of them that are that way, and so things could change tomorrow, but to have that stability is huge, and that they don't seem like they're going to go anywhere anytime soon, because they can look ahead 10-20 years and say, this is where I want to be.
And especially if the practice is growing and being successful, everyone wants to be on the winning team, right? So that's part of our job as well, is building, the successful practice, so that, that they can be proud of where they work. Oh yeah, I work at Dr. Pankinen's. Oh, you work at Dr. Pankinen's. That's a big deal. Again, not a money
Especially
thing, not a money thing, a pride thing.
especially in little communities like I have, because people see them around town. They just people talk about them, seeing them at the clinic, and they recognize them in public, and so they get they come in on Monday and say, I saw a patient so and so, and they were talking about you, Dr. Kyle, or whatever, but it brings a sense of pride to them.
100%, 100%. Well, it'll be interesting to have those conversations with Dr. Jim and Dr. Marjan. But I do think we should do a case study, because we can dive in a little deeper on some of these topics, and I think it'd be valuable for everybody.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that anytime, and so just want to get your thoughts on that, and that's As Forrest said, that's all I have to say about that.
Perfect. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this business Q&A. So thank you for everyone that attended, and thank you for everyone that's watching on the replay. Great call today. Again, this being part of a community like this, I think, is super important. A lot of times we can kind of feel on an island, when you run your own practice, and you are, the driver of the practice. There's not always someone that you can talk to about your wins and your, the highs and the lows and everything in between. That's kind of what this is designed for. And I think the more doctors we get in here, the better it gets. So that's it for this Q&A. Hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your day. Keep in mind now, this is the end of third quarter. So we're moving into our third quarter, end of first quarter. So do an assessment this weekend. I highly recommend, hey, are you on track with your goals for your 2024, total goals, right? Your broad reaching goals. So now you have 3 months in the books. Okay. So are you on track? Are you behind? Are you ahead? And then make adjustments accordingly. Right. So it's just a feedback loop, right? We think, we plan, we execute, and we learn. So you think, you plan, you execute, and you learn. So it's just a feedback loop. And so just take some time, take an hour, go to Starbucks, go to whatever, get your notebook, get your stats, and put some time. This is working on the practice. I'll certainly be doing it this weekend, working on the business. Hey, am I ahead, on schedule, behind of my goals for this year? What's working? What isn't working? What needs to happen to make it work, and then plan for second quarter. So I'll leave it on that note. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. We'll see you all next week. Same day, same time. Take care.